Hi, everyone. Here, Carmo Sullivan, Heart to Heart Medium, another podcast. I'm so excited. So I had to re-invite Johnny to come back and talk, Johnny Joy. When I talked to Johnny last time, it was just to get to know him. He is probably, didn't you win the best DJ in town this?
Yeah, and we just found out yesterday we won again 6 years in a row.
Well, so
cool.
Johnny's kind of a local celebrity.
A voice celebrity. I can go to the grocery store without being harassed, photographed.
So what I love, why we're here today, is we're talking about how to love yourself greatest. And Johnny's a recovered alcoholic.
Yes.
And I'm going to let him tell his story in a minute, but it's Valentine's Day coming up. And with that, I believe in loving yourself first. Love yourself first. It's the most important. And I think that is the missing link in alcoholism.
Yes, 100%.
And Johnny has a new app that helps people become sober. And I deal with a lot of clients who struggle with sobriety, and upstairs and down here. So when I talk about clients, there's a lot of people who come back from above to say they're sorry because they know what kind of pain they cause their families through their drinking. So on that note, I'm going to let Johnny introduce himself.
Well, yeah, my name is Johnny Joy. That is my real name. I have no shame in saying I stole my wife's last name because it's so darn cool. I was in radio and everyone said Johnny Joy. That's a radio name. So I've been doing radio for about 7 years now.
Yeah.
Before that, I was slinging shake mix with a multi-level marketing company. That didn't go very well, but it landed me in radio somehow. Everyone asked how you got into radio. I said, well, sling shake mix after alcoholism. Duh.
Well, listen to your voice. Your voice is perfect.
That's a result of whiskey and cigarettes. Luckily, I quit the bad habits and kept the voice. Before that, just working in lots of restaurants, hotels, and 4 generations from Colorado Springs. My daughter's the 5th. I've got another daughter on the way in 7 weeks. So we're getting really close.
I'm excited for you.
I'm so excited.
You're going to love those teenage years.
Luckily, my wife is a behavior analyst and therapist.
She'll be watching them closely.
Yes, I've got a knowledgeable coach.
Keep all cell phones away till they're 18, by the way.
Absolutely.
So what I want you to talk about today is first, your journey was, if anybody hadn't listened to my podcast, I think it was 3 or 4. He told this amazing journey of how he got sober. And you're lucky to be here today.
100%. Yeah.
And through that, you're a person who likes to help people. And you've been doing that since you got sober. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so now you've come up with a new way where you can reach more than 1, more than 2, millions maybe.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, and like you said, that didn't make it on this plane.
Yeah.
And I want to prevent that from happening. But I am just one person. And I can't help everybody. So I came up with the idea of this app. It's called SobriTree, and you can find it on the App Store, on the Play Store.
Can you spell that out? Yeah. Because that way they can find it.
SobriTree, like sobriety, but sobriety.
Tree is tree of life.
Exactly. And you have to have really strong roots. And the goal of SobriTree is to create so many different branches because, maybe Alcoholics Anonymous is not a perfect fit for you. Maybe you don't have the time to go to rehab. I mean, you're talking 30 days. Maybe you don't have the finances to go to rehab.
True.
Maybe you want to just be outdoors or you want to meet like-minded people. Maybe you just want to watch motivational videos. All of that is what you can find in SobriTree.
Well, and I took a look at it. I really, really was impressed. And I think it takes a lot for a person to heal themselves.
Of course.
And when you're drinking a lot, you're actually pushing away or pushing down something that you haven't healed.
Yeah.
And I really feel this SobriTree is a great way for people to access help with, like you said, without, maybe they don't have the money, or maybe they don't have the ability, or maybe they need a tribe.
They need a tribe, and they also want to be able to do it on their own time.
Yeah.
Because when you're forced into recovery, you got your family. Like intervention to me was one of the most tactless things you could do to somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand they're hurting you, but they're already screwed up in their head. And then you're going to, surprise, here's how you're screwing up our lives too. That's going to help, said no one. So the idea is when people are struggling the most is at 2 a.m. when they're by themselves. And everybody has one of these.
Oh, yes.
And so they can just be laying in bed and open up SobriTree, and there's your options. There's meetings, there's groups, there's videos, there's
Books,
podcasts, there's playlists. I mean, I've got musical playlists of every genre of people that I've contacted. So what music did you listen to when you got sober?
You know what I also liked when I looked at it, you had communities of faith-based communities, Buddhist communities, because it also talks about your spiritual side and your faith.
Of course.
Too. And that to me is huge, because I think if you don't have a faith of something greater than yourself, I don't know if you can get sober.
It's hard.
I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping I'm wrong, but
I know I'm not here by my own hand alone. But is it, for me, is it Christian? Is it Buddhist? That's
I think it's their own walk.
Alone, and yeah, so just to have a comprehensive resource where people can go and say, this fits for me. Let me explore this, because people don't know.
Let me ask you something. The day you became sober, or I don't want to say it's the moment, because I think there was
Yeah.
Can you just retell that lovely story?
Yeah. I tried over and over and over.
Yeah.
There are a number of different signs, but I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I was getting sober for, an ex-girlfriend, or for a job, or because people thought I should, or for my mom. It just really wasn't for me, because I hadn't really kind of figured out what was all tangled up in here. And, so I'd been to 5 different rehabs, been to the hospital 7 or 8 different times for alcohol poisoning, county detox 3 different times, jail, 3 DUIs. I was at the point of organ failure. Liver was failing, kidneys were failing. And I was 35 years old. 35 years old. That's pretty young.
You are so lucky.
Yeah.
So lucky. And you're here for a reason.
And I know that. I know that, what I choose to call God said, well, you keep trying to quit and I'm not going to fire you. So we got to find a better way here. And
I like his attitude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's like, so better luck next time, pal. And I was laying in the hospital once again, and I was up in Denver, at Lutheran Medical. And, if you know anything about blood alcohol contents, 0.4 is considered lethal. 0.3 is alcohol poisoning. 0.4 is lethal. I was at 0.54.
Oh.
I was drinking 8 bottles of wine a day, plus a 12-pack, plus 10 milligrams Xanax every single day. I mean, I wasn't there.
I can't even believe you're here. Honestly, I just think there was such a grace for you to be here.
Well, thank you. I can't disagree with you.
Yeah.
And now the goal is to help everybody show that no matter where you're at, you can be where I am, if not more. I want to see people excel way past me. I want to see people do the most amazing things with their lives, because we get this one shot. So
it's interesting how that moment in time, was it not, I don't want to say, was it easy, but at that moment in time, what shifted in you and where did it shift?
I heard a voice just kind of like we're talking right now, and it sounds very, mamma jamma, spooky spiritual. But I'm laying there in the hospital bed.
You're talking to the right person.
And that's why I can say it. Because I tell some people, they're like, maybe that was the box of wine talking. But I remember my mom looking down at me in the hospital, and my sister passed away 20 years ago from a fentanyl overdose. And I remember she looked down at me and she said, I'm going to have to bury my other child. And I was just like, and that's when it really struck. That hurt. And then she walked out and all the nurses walked out. It was like suddenly I was just alone in this hospital by myself.
Wow.
And a voice just as loud as you and I are talking now said, it's done.
Wow.
And I did that. I was like, and said, not in an hour, not in 10 minutes. It's done now.
I got my head spinning when you say that.
Yeah. And I called the nurse and I called my mom and I said, okay, let's do this. And I checked into a medical detox at West Pine up in Denver. God bless all the people at West Pine. The worst 5 days of my life, but they saved my life physically, because I would have had a seizure and all the other maladies that go along with quitting benzodiazepines and alcohol at the same time.
And from that point on, you've been living a sober.
Yep.
I want to say happy.
Oh, yeah. Happy doesn't even.
I mean, literally, you did a whole 360.
Yeah. Or 180, I guess.
180. Yeah, that's true.
Go the other direction.
Yeah. That's true.
Don't want to go back to where I started.
I really feel that he, and I'll say whatever that voice was, I'll say him was here to get you to sober up so you could create this.
Yeah. And this has been a project that has been kind of brewing in my mind for the better part of 9 years. March 15th will be 9 years without a drop, without a drug. And has it been easy? No. Has it been
Mm-mm.
simple? Yes. That's the line I want to make sure people
I
understand.
love what you said. Was it easy? No. Was it simple? Yes. Because
Yeah.
it's simple. If you look at it simply.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't just something where like I just had this divine blessing and everyone's going to have that divine blessing. I get it. It took work.
So say I'm an alcoholic and I'm asking for your help. What would you tell me today?
The very first thing I ask you to do is take a piece of white paper, brown paper, black paper, whatever it is. Okay.
White paper.
Yeah. And draw a line right down the middle. And you got to have a pen. This can't, not an app, not on your phone, not thinking it, actually write it out. And on the
energy
left,
is in your hand,
yes,
by the way.
Exactly. And on the left side, write advantages. And on the right side, write disadvantages.
Okay.
And then on the left side, write advantages you get from drinking. On the right side, write the disadvantages you get from drinking. And be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're a better dancer. You think you're a better singer. It takes
you
stress
think you're
away.
a better dancer and a better
It helps
singer.
you relax, whatever it is. And then write down the disadvantages.
Yeah.
So far, I've not found anyone that's listed more than about 4 or 5 things under advantages. And then the disadvantages, they just get really pissed off at me.
Oh, it's really about facing your truth.
Yes. And that's where it all starts. Is saying like, look at what this is doing to you.
Yeah.
And then figure out what it is you're trying to fix in your head.
Yeah. What are you trying to fill?
Yeah. I say, if anyone can come to me and tell me how they outdrank or outused their emotional trauma, then let me know, because we'll be billionaires.
Yeah.
But so far, not a single person said I effectively and successfully outdrank my problems. It's all immediate gratification. It's a temporary solution to a much larger problem.
And that is the biggest problem, I think, in society, is immediate gratification is one of the hardest things. People look for it. That's all they want.
Of course.
The quick fix.
Well, especially on social media now.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a bing, give me a buzz, give me a thumbs up, give me a laughing emoji.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Give me a filter I can put on something. Give me something.
Well, and these things go to bed with us, our phones, and when you wake up, like you said, I can be scrolling through your SobriTree or scrolling through TikTok and finding something funny. But in this bigger picture of SobriTree, how do you see it growing? How do you see it branching out? Using the word branching out. Don't you like that?
And that's exactly
tongue in cheek.
That's exactly the thought of it, was like, well, there's got to be a branch.
Branching
to this.
out can be a whole,
Yeah, and that's exactly how SobriTree got its name. Is I couldn't figure out a name for it. Originally, the name was going to be The Knot, but spelled GNAUT, like not like I'm nodding on something, but plus the knot.
Yeah.
So that'll probably become another thing of SobriTree, like another subcategory. But what I want this to be is the ultimate resource. Anyone, anywhere on the globe can find it anytime. And it's going to be organically built. It's going to be people saying, well, hey, I'd like my counseling service to be a part of this, so people can find it. Just
maybe even
like
in the bars when people are drinking, maybe even in restaurants and places where people are drinking and they wish they could stop, they could have it there.
Yeah. And that's the goal, military installations, and again, where it's not people having to sit down in a class, because people they'll tone out, they'll think of anything else. The worst time,
it's punishment.
Yeah, of course it is. The worst time in an alcoholic's mind is when they're by themselves late at night, when they say, "I wish I hadn't done it again. I wish."
Yeah, I get it.
But they're allowed to say, well, I don't want to go to an AA meeting. That seems terrifying.
Well, yeah.
I can't take a month off from my family, and I can't afford $30,000 for 30 days to go to some, some bougie retreat, So what are your options? Well, here's going to be an option in your hand where you can at least make it through a night. Maybe you've been sober for 9 years, and suddenly that little guy on your shoulder is like, hey, what's up? Hey, let's have a drink. You can go and listen to a podcast. You can go and watch YouTube videos of people that have had that exact same thought. They've been exactly where you're at.
I think what happens is, if you don't feel so alone and you can find a community, and maybe the SobriTree app is going to be your community, so you don't have to make the choice to go in the kitchen and go drink.
Exactly. And there's going to be a community portion to it, like a social media, but
I love that.
That's going to take a lot of oversight, unfortunately, because social media can get kind of nasty and kind of mucky sometimes. Yeah. And so before I open this up to everyone that's just looking for hope and healing and community, I got to make sure that there's some guardrails in place as well.
Well, and I think that's important because, people can be ugly. Yeah. And especially when you're drinking, you can be really ugly sometimes.
And people take advantage of people. And
I
will not let that happen on my watch with something that I want to
I
help
like
so
that.
many people.
I think it's important. It's really interesting because one thing that has been bugging me is I wanted to get you back here because I've had a lot of readings from different people I know. I mean, through my work.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people I'm reading, their loved ones have passed away, young loved ones who have passed away from alcoholism.
Yep.
At 35, at 40,
Mm-hmm.
at 45. And I've had more than enough. And I'm here to help people. So I always like when I get people I know who have a problem, I actually say, I have a friend, I have a couple friends actually. And I also refer Sparkle too.
Oh yeah, of course.
And she's amazing.
Sparkle Lindsay LLC, check her out.
She is amazing too.
She was on my podcast, Addicted to Joy,
Oh,
and one of the best ones I've ever had. We just talked, and so
isn't she fun?
Like 2 hours went by, and I was like, okay, all right.
Well, and you know it's funny because I'll tell a story, and I think I can tell this story because I had a reading where a family came and sat with me. They wanted to connect to. It was mom, dad, and son was in his 40s or is in his 40s. And mom and dad are sitting there and son, and the brother comes through beautifully and gives them all these wonderful evidential messages. Always look for the evidence. And all of a sudden, the very end of this whole reading, the gentleman up here, the son, says, "You need to talk to my brother about his drinking." I'm like, what? And I'm like, this is highly uncomfortable. So I thought to myself, by the way, so I turned to him and I said, your brother is worried about your drinking. Do you understand that? And he started to kind of start to cry, tear up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mom and dad started to tear up a little bit.
So mom and dad knew it too.
Oh yeah. And that was their worry too. And it was like this beautiful thing. And I told him, I go, listen, when you're ready to give this up, because he's worried about you, your family's worried about you, I have some people who'll help you.
Yeah. You're
one of them.
Awesome.
So the next thing what happened was, and this is the strangest story, it's a really sad story actually, but good ending. His dad was such a sweet soul. His name was Jim. And Jim was this beautiful soul. And he called me once in December after that and said, hey, has my son reached out to you? And I go, no, not yet. And he goes, well, I'm going to make him reach out to you. Don't worry. I'll get him to call you. And I said, okay. He goes, I'll take care of everything. No problem, Jim. 6 months go by. I get a call and it's the person, his son calls me and he goes, I'd like to have a reading for me and my mom separately each. And I said, okay. You know, and I book him in and a month goes by or so. And I kind of forget when I book in who these are because I have a lot of clients. And I get to read his mom first, who is this beautiful soul too. And when I go into a reading, I always write down my notes because they come in early and they tell me what they want to talk about today. Yeah. So I tell this woman, I look at her and she's on my Zoom call and I look at her and I'm like, look down at my notes and she wants to talk to her husband. And I look up at her and it's my client, my young man's mom. And I look up and I told her, I looked and I go, is your husband gone? Jim, is Jim gone? And I got so emotional because this man was so beautiful. He had died of a heart attack. And she said yes. And I'm like, oh. And I thought to myself, one way of getting someone to call me is to die. Yeah. And through his death, I think his son has gotten sober. Wow. And he struggles still, and that's okay. Yeah. But he's a beautiful soul, and it was the most beautiful reading for mom, for him, and even in death, they're reaching out because they see your pain.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
It was just crazy.
Because that's just pure love over there.
Yeah.
That's just pure love.
And so I think I don't know if he's doing SobriTree, but I'm hoping he does. He'll know who he is when he sees this. And, I just feel like it's so important for people to heal right now.
Of course. And, there's a lot of motivational stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's people that, want to call themselves motivators and inspirational speakers. And that's all well and good.
But,
and that's why I want to create something simple. I am not going to tell anybody how to get sober. Mm-mm. I can tell them what worked for me. I can give them some recommendations. Yeah. But more than anything, I want to give them a resource, and then put it in their hands and say, it's up to you.
Educating yourself, educating and knowing yourself well. doing a thorough deep dive into yourself, and find out why you're doing what you're doing and what you can do about it.
Yeah.
And filling the hole with something different.
Right.
Because happiness doesn't come from a bottle. Happiness comes from within.
No, there's never been happiness at the bottom.
No.
It's like I said, it's all temporary.
Yeah.
And I mean, my choice to deal with my trauma was alcohol. Some other people will pick food or gambling or sex or overworking out. Like we're talking
everything.
about.
I mean, it's always extreme, isn't
Yes.
it? Whatever it is, it's an extreme way. And the more they reach the extreme, the more they're trying to stuff faster and faster.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like when you were going through the worst, weren't you feeling it more and more? So therefore you were drinking.
Yes.
More is better, less is not.
Yeah. And then it gets to a point where you go one of two ways.
Yeah.
You either sit here 9 years sober or you're in the ground.
Yeah.
And there's too much life to be lived to live really awfully.
If you have a passion for life, and passion comes to me is finding your pure joy. Yeah. Once again, Johnny Joy. But joy is really come from, it's still like, once again, I'm all about living in the heart center and finding the happiness in you and cleaning out the things that don't serve you well anymore.
Right. And unlearning the things that you think you need to carry as an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you feel like you're a piece of garbage because of X, Y, and Z. Where did you learn that? Who told you that?
Yeah.
Who made you believe that?
How deep does it go?
Yeah.
How deep is the root is what I say.
And when you get to that root, you can just yank it out. I mean, I'm not going to be like a motivational speaker and say, you go out to your garden and say, there's no weeds, there's no weeds, there's no weeds. No, there's weeds. Yank them.
Yeah. What's funny is I think when people can confront themselves, it may not happen overnight, but it does happen if you stay here long enough on this earth.
Right.
And really stop the habits that aren't serving you.
Right. And just choose to live in a beautiful state.
Yeah. Every day, it's about your mindset. Yeah. It's always about, do I choose to be miserable and sad and live in the past? Or I choose to live in the present moment here at this.
We do a segment on our radio station every weekday morning as we get ready to end the show. We're talking about a country music station.
I love country music.
And we're not talking about like serious, deep political issues. It's silly and it's fun and it's great music. But one of the segments I brought in, and it's called the Zen Moment. And it's 9:40 every single weekday.
9:40, huh?
Yeah, 9:40. And so it's just a Zen moment.
Okay.
And our Zen moment on Friday was, it's okay to look back at the past, just don't stare.
I saw that when you had it on your you had it on your Facebook page. And that's why I think I connected with you to begin with, is I just loved your whole page. It had joy in it and it had life in it. And that's so important. Yeah. Because people living in the past, you
can't hope for a better past. You can try, but it's not going to happen.
Well, and for me, it's like I've learned not to have the anxiety I used to have because I've just accepted the control I have around my 6-foot barrier here. Yeah. And to, let go of anything that I can't change. Yeah. And also just choose happiness every day and just say, well, can't change that. So I'm just going to have to pray that it can change itself. Yeah.
Again, and it's one of those things you realize how true it is when they say, you can't change what happens, but you can only change your reaction to what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. Life's going to do what life's going to do. Yeah. Again, a flat tire for you, that sucks. Yeah. Flat tire for the tire shop, that's great.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Someone dying, that is awful for friends and family. For a funeral home, that's business. And I know that sounds dark.
They're dying to see you.
Yeah, they are. They're dying to see you.
Well, it's because I have a lot of clients who have lost children to suicide too. Yeah. And I think that's also just pain.
Of course.
Of something. Of course. And, I tell them it's how you deal with the aftermath that will affect everybody who they knew. Yeah. To change. And I have this one mother in mind who I've been talking to, and she's a beautiful soul too. And she's going to be a leader for change for people. And this young man was loved in his community. And it's just how you deal with what happens to you is how you change others too.
Of course.
Every day.
Of course. I could have sat on my laurels and been like, okay, I got sober. I'm going to keep it to myself. And I'm going to go to these quiet meetings, get little coins and drink crappy coffee. I'm sorry, but that's how I saw it. Or I can stand up and speak as loudly as I possibly can about the options that are available to everybody.
What it is your happiness is driven by passion.
Oh yeah,
Passion for helping others change.
of course.
And I think one of the greatest things I just read today, I was reading in the paper, I sent it to you. It was this article on how people who don't get COVID, why? And they did a deep dive on it. And it was about their thought and how they chose the people who, they did a deep study and found people who live in the state of meaningful life experiences, happy thoughts, purposeful life, substantial, beautiful experiences instead of, these quick pleasures, e.g., drinking, eating, overeating, or just eating in general. Yeah. These people have a higher immune system.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah. And their immune system is able to fight off viruses.
Yeah.
So I believe let's all try to shift our thoughts and choose a purposeful life. My purpose is to make sure people understand death is not death.
No.
And it's all about love in the end. Mm-hmm. And it truly is. And the first person you choose to love is you. Yeah. And I think when you choose sobriety, you're loving yourself.
Yeah. And that's also certainly going to help your immune system, by the way, when you're not raking your body with 8 bottles of wine every single day.
You know what's really interesting too? In this article, it was really an interesting article written by a Chinese virologist.
Oh.
And he also said honesty. People who are honest have a higher immune system than people who are dishonest.
Well, yeah.
Because what you're doing is when you're dishonest, you're creating cortisol levels because you have to keep up with the lie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have a good memory.
Yeah. And he was stating, it was really interesting because he stated in this, and this is not political by any means, that a lot of the Chinese communist government rulers were creating, disinformation on the COVID. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have died and got COVID and died.
Think of how stressful that is.
And so I'm like, God, think about when you're going to say something, make sure it's honest.
Yeah. And I think everyone at this point has had COVID, or if not, they're probably going to get some
or they had it and never knew they had it because their body's like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Christmas of last year's Christmas Day, and I was like, I'm feeling like a little
punky.
little punky, and I took my temperature. I was like 101. I said, I don't typically get fevers. And
good sign.
Wife works in education, so she had, and we're talking last year, a year ago when things were a little bit more ramped up. And I took a test because she had a stack of tests. I was like, oh, I'll be darned. Look at that. Positive for COVID. And I was negative 2.5 days later.
Isn't that amazing?
And I mean, it goes back to your point.
What about your thoughts? What were your thoughts saying to yourself?
I get to stay home in my pajamas. All right. Yeah. I'm like, all right.
I think it's how you deal with anything.
Yeah.
If you can find the positive attitude in the worst situations.
Yeah.
I have learned through my family situation. My family has a kind of a dark humor going on. We always have.
Well, sure.
And with that, we find laughter in the weirdest, darkest things.
That's good.
And I hate to say it, it serves me well.
Yeah.
And I'm a humorist. I love to laugh at things. And I will find something funny and quirky to say to you, even when it can be kind of,
well, we've got
bad
to a
situation.
point in our culture where everything's supposed to be offensive and we're not supposed to laugh at anything dark. And
laughter is
funny.
my best. I have to have fun along the way. Don't forget the F word.
Yeah.
Fun.
That's a good word.
I know. That's my my branding from my tennis game.
Now, we were talking about before we went on about you maybe getting into a jacuzzi life, and I mentioned the cold plunge.
Oh, I want to talk about that.
Yes, because if you want to talk about immune health, and I've been doing this for, I don't know, about 3 weeks now, and it's the best thing ever.
Okay, so let me tell you, when you started and how you feel now, tell me the differences. Well, wait. Tell what a cold plunge is, because I think not a lot of people won't know what it is.
It's stupid. It's a big bucket of water, and you get it really cold. Now in Colorado, that's not hard in February. You leave it
not
outside.
Really. Yeah.
Mine's a little bit insulated, so it doesn't freeze up completely. But every single morning, it's about 35 gallons, and it's just a big tub. It fits up to someone that's 6'7".
Okay.
I'm 5'11", so
it's deep.
Yeah, deep enough where you can step in, but then you just
sit down.
You just sit down,
okay,
and it comes up to your neck.
Okay.
And the water's about 36, 37 degrees.
Brr.
Yeah, and you just sit, and it's all about breathing. Breathing is the biggest thing because
breath of life.
Yeah,
breath of
the
life.
First time you get in, you watch anyone get the first time. And then they start to panic.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Wim Hof, and he's the
Oh,
Iceman.
I saw him.
Oh.
Saw him, but I did see a show
Yeah.
or a spec. It was like a little segment on him.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, he lost his wife and his kid and went through all of this trauma and was headed down a real dark path of addiction and depression and suicidal ideations. But he lived in somewhere in the Nordic, Sweden, Norway, Finland,
yes.
area, where the water's obviously naturally quite cold.
Yeah.
And he got to the point where he would just go, the only way he could get himself out of the moment where he was about to, find himself at the end of a rope was to go put himself in ice water.
Wow.
Yeah. And then soon now, I'm not saying you should be like Wim Hof and sit 25 minutes in ice water, but I mean, I do it for 3.5 minutes.
Are you is that the perfect time?
Yeah. They say in between 3 to 4 minutes, roughly.
Okay.
Other than that, you can start to, get yourself into harm's way,
Okay.
and yeah, you just get in and you get up to your neck and you just, after about 20 seconds, you don't feel it anymore.
Wow.
And every single nerve in your body is going and your lymphatic system is pumping and your heart.
It's important.
Yeah. And all the inflammation is leaving your body. And then you get out and all the warmth comes back in and you feel all the blood rush to the surface of your skin. And all day long, coffee doesn't even stand a chance to this.
So my question is, so you feel energized?
Oh, yeah.
Give me some more words.
Confident, mindful,
Okay.
present,
Wow.
energetic.
I want one of these.
Yeah.
I want one of these.
And just remember, it's 3 minutes.
That's all it is. 3 minutes. Everybody can do 3 minutes.
Everyone
don't you
can do
think?
3 minutes. And I'm telling you, after 20 seconds, you just get in.
You think,
and
no way
you
in
just
hell?
take some deep breaths. And then suddenly you're like, okay. And have some headphones.
Okay.
Listen to some music.
Or tape yourself on TikTok like he did.
Yeah. And you'll get to the point, like the first one, you remember you going,
Yeah.
and like now, I'm just sitting back and I give a little meditation from the plunge. Oh, wow. Yeah. And it's just awesome.
I think I'm going to see if I can purchase one because I really feel inflammation super important as you get older because it keeps, if you're inflamed, your body hurts and then you're not moving correctly. And so
and
inflammation is a negative word as you get older. So you don't want to hear it.
And it's hugely beneficial for anyone that's pre-diabetic
Oh,
or that suffers from diabetes.
really?
Because it helps your body's natural insulin response. Yeah.
Wow.
There's so many benefits to it.
I've been reading about some of these places where you can go and you can get into these. There's some places in town I think you can.
Cryotherapy is also quite good. Yeah.
Not as good?
It is good.
It is good?
It's not as intense.
Okay.
But I'm also kind of one for the more intensity of life now.
Well, I think once you've just fully jumped into joy, I had to say that because I just love your name, Johnny Joy.
I think I'm going to name my cold plunge tub Joy.
I think
I'm
you
going to
should.
jump into Joy.
I think, anything we can do to bring health, because health also brings happiness.
Yes.
Because if you're hurting, you're miserable. So why not?
Yeah. And a lot of times we're miserable because of the stuff that we see on these screens.
Oh, God.
Whether it be the evening news or the stuff that is all over social media. People say Facebook sucks and Instagram's awful and TikTok. Well, no, look at what you're staring at.
What are you staring at and how
And who
is
are
it
you following?
negative? It's interesting too. Thoughts are important, as I always say. And so I have a lot of friends of mine who, we get wrapped up in certain things and I'm like, I can't control that. I'm not going to control that. I can't change people. I can't change the world. What can I change? My 6-foot barrier. That's it.
Yeah.
So I've let all that stuff go. I look at it now and then I go, that's interesting. Educating yourself is good, not carrying it. And like I tell people, like if you're upset about the politics, go run for an office.
Yeah.
I just did a podcast 2 weeks ago for Sally Clark, and I'm promoting her because I feel like she's my greatest mayor, and giving a little Sally plug there. Sorry. I don't know who you're voting for, but
I haven't decided yet, but it could be Sally.
It could be Sally. But what it is the way you affect your life. You can't affect, the government, but you can affect in your little town of Colorado Springs. Yeah. And by you being a joyful person, you affect so many people. I've heard so many people tell me, Johnny Joy has changed my life. And you have sent me clients, and I appreciate that because they always tell me, Johnny told me to come see you. Or I'm like, thank you, Johnny.
And that's such a trip for me because I just think of myself like, at this point 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, the wheels were falling off the bus. I didn't know where I was.
And here you are today, a person who's changing people's lives for the better.
And I couldn't ask for a greater, there's no paycheck that could ever match when someone says, you changed my life. And to them, I just say, I appreciate the compliment, but you changed your life.
You were a little bit of a
gave,
facilitator.
Yeah, I just gave you a nudge in something that worked for me. So.
Well, I feel that. I get a lot of notes from my clients and they write me the most beautiful thank you letters. And I'm like, wow. And I always say kind of like, you know what it is? I'm just channeling the higher good. So thank you for letting me be a good straw.
Right. Good straw. I like that.
That's what I say. It's, you know, and I do the work. That's the thing. I do my work and it's ethical. And I always believe in, I want to help people just like you do. Yeah. Passion. It's
my only goal.
Yeah, that's me too. And have fun along the way. Don't forget the F word.
Yeah.
That's my coinage, by the way. I started that back in tennis a long time ago. I was laughing. In tennis, these women I'd play with, and I played competitive tennis, USTA, and I captained for 20 years on teams and had to deal with all the different women's personalities, which was always interesting.
I'm sure.
And egos. So I was at the, every time I played, and especially in tournaments or, for championships, these women would come on, and I played tennis for fun and to be a kid again. Yeah. And these women would come on and they would be so mean, and they were friends off the court, but on the court they were solely different. And so I'd come up to them and I'd draw them up to the net and say, "Hey, you're making me use the F word." And they're like, "What?" And I go, "Fun. Have you forgotten it?"
That's why we play this, is for fun.
F-U-N, not F-U. And, I think, people always found me, I always made laughter on the court.
Well, yeah.
Some people probably didn't like it because I was kind of heady too.
Yeah.
But you have to have fun along the way. And drinking can make fun in the beginning, but it doesn't make fun in the end. And it doesn't feel good the next day.
Right. And, I'm envious of people like my wife that could have half a margarita. Yeah. I'm like... Yeah. The other half, and then I'm looking at their margarita and that one over there. And, I wish I could have just a little bit of fun, but that's not how I'm wired. That's not how millions of us are.
Your genetics are not, like for me, my family had the same bottles in their upper cabinet than they had when they moved in 50 years before.
Of course.
And for me, my family, I think I was their biggest drinker, and I was a 2-drink limit always.
Right.
And now even a 1-drink limit is not serving me well because it makes me not sleep at night. I recognize all those little signs that are ugly, like, esophagus and not sleeping. So I'm very rarely do you see me have a drink now.
Right. And, if you can, more power to you. But that's why for the millions and millions and millions, even if you say even 5% of people suffer from this, out of just the U.S. population, that's still tens of millions of people.
Well, it is a drug. I mean, in a sense, it's something that changes your brain, your chemistry. It alters you, and anything altering you, is it altering other things too? Right. So, tell me more. Is there anything else going on in your world of Johnny?
Daughter number 2, 7 weeks, 44 years old.
Are you ready?
I'm doing as much cat napping as I can right now, just for the sake of not saying I'm going to stockpile on sleep, because that's not a real thing.
Stockpile on sleep and diapers.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Well, I will tell you, our last child was born. I was 40 and my man was 43 and a half.
Okay.
And I will tell you, she was our greatest gift. And all our kids, their greatest gift. Yeah. But because she kept us young. Yeah. And, it's funny because she has all these friends who have young parents, and we're the old grandma and grandpas. And so, but she kept us young, and we had chosen to have her 10 years after our first 2 kids. Wow. Yeah. And,
she was absolutely planned.
Everything was planned. It was like people go, was it a mistake? I go, nope. Nope. She was a planned being, and we were so blessed. Yeah. And I think you're going to find that too. She'll keep you young. Oh, both of them will keep him young.
That's why I've got to cold plunge and take my vitamins. Yeah. Keep that energy level up.
Well, it's just children are the greatest gifts in my mind.
And today after we're done here, our toddler will be done with her nap. And then I'm going to let Mama rest at home, and I'm going to take her to the park, and we're just going to play.
And you get to post pictures later.
Of course.
So I was going to say one more thing is I really, really, really appreciate you coming today, first off and foremost.
I appreciate you having me.
We always have fun when we talk. Yeah. And I think talking about difficult subjects, sobriety, don't be afraid to lean in and change your life. If you're suffering from alcoholism or you have someone who is, maybe turn them on to SobriTree. and people who suffer with people who have or not sobriety, but have alcoholism issues, there's help for you too. There's different groups too that can help. And maybe that's part of your thing too.
Sure. And you can find on social media, SobriTree on Instagram, on Facebook. And if you have any recommendations of things you'd like to see on there, maybe a counselor that's helped you, a treatment center that a loved one went to, books, podcasts, videos,
Send
anything.
them to Johnny.
Just send them to me and we'll get them on there.
I think it's great wealth of information for people.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you. And I also want to plug my heart class coming up in a week and a half. If you're trying to change your life, it's going to be it's not next week and the following week. And I think it's the 25th and 26th. It's going to be, we have 3 more seats left and it's life-changing. We're going to be doing transformational work. We're going to give you techniques how to stay in the heart and how to stay happy, passionate, and a smile on your face, and how to bring that light of you out so you attract the right things in your life. So if you're looking at having an inspirational weekend, contact me via instant message on Facebook or text me at 719-492-5254 or go to my website. I'm just trying to change people to help live them in the heart. And it's one step at a time, one breath at a time. And,
we can only see how much sand is in the bottom of that hourglass, so may as well enjoy whatever's in the top.
So on that note, thank you so much, Johnny. I appreciate conversation today.
Of course.
And I'm excited. It's going to be out Valentine's Day because we have to love ourselves dearly. So on that note, calm out, peace out.